Evolution Church South Florida would like to invite you to worship with us. You can connect via our second Sunday virtual community or meet us in person for our fourth Sunday experience. Both begin at 3 p.m. sharp. Remember, this is the place where we explore, expand, and evolve. See you soon.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is Shazetta Morris, whatever title you know me from. Let me run them. Apostle Shazetta, Coachy, Mommy, Wifey, all of those particular things. Hopefully, wherever you're joining us from, you can hear me well. We want to make sure that everybody can see where we are. So I'm watching people on YouTube. Some people are watching on Facebook. Some people are watching on their individual pages. Take a minute to like and share. We would love to get you in on this conversation. Honestly, not sure where the conversation is going to go tonight, but it's going to go somewhere. Listen, LYFE Forum is our teaching branch of the Evolution Church. We are located in South Florida, namely in a city called Homestead, Florida. We do LYFE Forum every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, and we discuss all things pertaining to life and godliness. Again, this is the extension branch of the Evolution Church where we expand, explore, and evolve. We love this ministry organization because it has a lot of branches. We deal with the blend of spirituality, mentality, and creative arts. And so we take the time to bring all of those, or braid rather, all of those pieces together in order to be the Evolution Church. We partner in ministry, both my husband and I, and it is an non-traditional ministry organization type. We welcome you to jump in on any of the aspects of that, from the spirituality where we gather in community because community is important to us, to the mentality where we deal with the soul, providing therapeutic coaching services, consulting services, all of those things in order to enhance your everyday life, and the creative arts, which is where we speak to the witty inventions, and all of those things that are put in your heart by God in order for you to produce or hope to produce successfully in the earth. So if you're interested in what we are doing, follow us on any of the social media platforms. You can email us directly at the Evolution Church, soflow@gmail.com, or reach out to us on our website. There's a lot of ways that you can get connected to us. For the sake of LYFE Forum, we have our panel/host, because they can be a host at any time. We're going to bring them on tonight and let them speak to who they are and what they do. Let me just inform you, the Evolution Church has a large reach. While we have a local facility in South Florida, we have a global, national, national reach that extends into global waters, right? And so we have connections, we have partners in many different spaces throughout the United States. So what you see as a seed in Homestead is not the limitation of our expansiveness throughout the United States and beyond. And so we'll join with our partners here tonight. Let's see if they will join us. They are with us. Yes, we got them. We're missing 2 at the moment, and another one is going to be joining. We got a video that is out right now, so we're going to let them be out, but we'll let these 2 wonderful people introduce themselves. One is coming back, and then our creative arts maestro is on his way. Come on, you all speak to us. This has been a yeah. Look, can I just say to everybody, this has been an interesting mouthy week for me. Let's say that.
Amen. What the heck is going on, y'all?
Ooh, it was some worse language than that. Let me
have yourself.
Let me say that.
Listen. Here goes the ministry. Everybody need to learn this. It's the #1 song of my heart. Y'all want to act crazy? Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Yes.
By yourself. For yourself. To yourself. This is not a month where I'm going to let the Prince of Peace be neglected of my worship because some other people are messing with my peace.
Listen, I'm getting ready. I'm going to pull a piece. I know that. There's several types of pieces.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What's going on, Lady Bree? Sister B? What's up?
Right. He's already screaming. So
Yeah.
this is going to be that type of conversation.
Listen,
ready.
you know what these are, right? When we were little kids, y'all remember this? Y'all remember? My mom used to go to the furniture store and buy this for me because it would calm me down. I would get aggravated. And when I would get aggravated, I would. And I did not know that I was gaining release by the death of this bubble.
It was when you closed your eyes and bowed your head when you did it.
I'm trying to tell y'all because in my head, I'm thinking about the heads that are exploding.
Yeah.
It's my silent prayer. God, I want their heads to pop. And it would calm me down. Now, did I say it was healthy? I didn't say it was healthy.
Well,
y'all.
it actually is.
It is healthy.
Okay. I'm talking about wanting the death of my family members and friends.
Oh,
That's not healthy.
that's not healthy.
But whatever you gotta do to release that stuff that you were born into out of you, go ahead and do the daggone thing. You know what I mean? Because what I wanted to grab some Negroes and have their chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Leave them in the cold woods and Jack Frost nipping at their nose.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is very it must be an aggressive week in December because my God, I won't. I listen, add a quick. So we've got Texas, we've got Delaware, we've got Pines in South Florida. Adam, I sent a whole audio to the local crew. So Brianna has heard this audio. Yes, it's been that kind of week, but I think that everybody is just having, a hard time. But what you talk about in the squeezing, right now, what I think is happening, right? I think we're in overstimulation mode. The holidays bring a lot of stimulation, and it's probably got a whole bunch of us overstimulated. So we've created a sensory room in our garage because of the autism and the ADHD in our house. And one of the things that the babies and the kids and the adults love is that squeezer thing. Because yes, it's the bubble thing. So you're directing your energies towards something because you can't kill anybody. We don't want that, but you want to express yourself. And so it's almost like those widgets. You know how those things, you keep them in your hand, stress balls, all of that? Yes, so it's perfect. If that's what you need, do it, sir.
Yeah, I'm fighting it. I'm fighting to keep my I'm fighting. A lot of people say I'm fighting to keep my peace or I'm fighting to restrain myself. I'm not. I'm fighting to exert my authority over my body, my authority over my mind. I realize this is not about me trying to hold myself back, but it's telling me express your authority and don't move. I don't have to be moved by this. Does not have to I've lived. Angry people live their lives by, to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if I'm not responding to the wave of energy that you sent me, then I'm not doing justice to myself. But I am realizing that in my heart that everybody getting mad at me ain't ain't really on me. It's like you get mad at me. Okay, all right. But if I'm going to respond to you at the level that you're mad at me, then I've lost my dominance over myself. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all that if the fruit of the Spirit is self-control, then you got to ask yourself, what tree are you eating off of?
Oh my gosh, pause, because we're not getting ready to go that far tonight. No. We're not going that far tonight. We're not talking about the tree. We're going to cycle back. Why? Because that scripture that we shared today about that piece talks about eating the fruit thereof. Death and life is in the power of the tongue, right? So let's circle back. See, I love when Adam jumps all the way in. Then I don't know where he's going to go, but we got to swim with him because
that's all right.
He's already gone.
I do well with leashes.
You know what? Let me tell you something. All the years that I've known you, you don't need a leash though, but you allow the people to pull you back just to release you again. So I love that. You've always had that kind of submission. Listen, we've got Brianna in the corner. I think I didn't say her name. Names are not coming up tonight. Bernicia is at the bottom. We got B and Bree Jackson. Yes. We got Adam Watson. And of course, the man of God is going to join us as soon as he's finished with his creative space. This conversation, last week, we've been talking about, so just to kind of bring the whole audience.
I want y'all to know, this is my herbal tea.
Okay.
This is not moonshine.
Is that what we're calling it?
This is not whiskey. See, I knew.
Amen.
I knew who I needed to.
I can't promise you what's in this. I'm not even getting ready to dignify that with the response.
Here.
I'm not gonna promise you. Hey, you guys who are joining us on YouTube. I love the fact that
my herbal tea.
Yeah, no.
Sure.
And it's okay that it's spiked with a little something. Listen, the scriptures say wine for the belly's sake. Y'all
right. And be not drunk with wine, but be filled with the Spirit. Go ahead and get it in.
Yeah, so if it's herbal tea that's spiked, it's okay. I'm drinking some water. You all are grabbing some other stuff. And people are piping in as they are hearing from and laughing at y'all as they are hearing you all respond. Listen, it's at the 719 space, right? And we want to continue this conversation on, it's a blend of two things, right? The power of the tongue, the power behind the tongue. We'll see where we get with that, but I want to provoke a thought for all of you, and I want all of you to answer this. Before I get there, you all know what I learned.
What?
I learned that I'm producing this show.
You didn't know that?
No, I thought I was just moving buttons.
Oh no, you're a producer.
Who gave us that kind of responsibility?
Come on, producer.
You and Jesus.
Yeah, you kind of just walked.
Yeah, but I didn't know it. I was like, this is an official thing. Why is everybody saying that? But it's just buttons. Anyway, I put up something last week. I think that's going to help us with our conversation. And Jacquees, you are on, and so I want you to pipe in and share some information, right? So the question was, and a lot of people answered it. Y'all didn't answer it. I don't think y'all saw it, but maybe you thought about it. Maybe it passed over your system. I'm pulling it up because I want to read it exactly as I posted it. Here's a question. Do you believe a trashy tongue?
Oh.
Did you see it?
I saw it.
Do you believe a trashy tongue automatically means you have a trashy life? Now, remember, we're talking about the power of the tongue. We've used the scriptures that said death and life lies in the power of the tongue, and those who live in it or lean in it will eat the fruit thereof.
And can you repeat the question, madam?
The question is, and I'm going to type it up here so that everybody can see it when they join on. Where are we? Right? Overlay. Yes. So, do you believe a trashy tongue automatically means that you have a trashy life?
I don't think so.
So I say yes and no.
Yeah, I would say Yeah, I would say yes and no too. I don't feel like it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, B.
No, go ahead, Bree. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't feel like, because you said trashy tongue means that you automatically have a trashy life.
Do you believe a trashy tongue
Oh,
automatically
there it is
means
at
you
the bottom
have?
of the screen.
Yes, that's the question. See, I'm
Means you will
producing
have
now
a
that I
trashy life.
know. I'm starting to do
Now
some
that I
stuff.
know this is
Yes,
what I do. This is what
that's
I
what
do.
I do. So
Oh,
nobody. Okay, so here's the thing. Nobody. So in our house, this conversation went a whole lot left. So let's hold it. The reason being is because nobody ever defined what a trashy tongue means. We assume that people who cuss have trashy tongues.
I was thinking more so of being just speaking negatively would be the trashy tongue for me personally. Not necessarily somebody who curse, but somebody who is always speaking negatively about stuff like, you know, like, oh, this stuff makes me sick, or this stuff gets on my nerves, but it's like you're speaking that over you. So every time it does happen, it will continue to get on your nerves.
And make you sick. Good stuff.
Right. So that's why I'm saying I feel like it's more of negative talk. I don't feel like you will automatically have a trashy life because you have a trashy tongue, but you could at the same time. That's why I guess I'm on the yes and the no side. Yes, because you can be there can be circumstances in life, because life has happened, right, that you had no control over. But I feel like continuing to speak negatively over yourself in those things that you can't control will create the trashy life.
That's the key.
I would say that yeah, because we can't control the things that transpire that are like inevitable in life. So that's why I'm saying it's not like yes, you will automatically have it. I just feel like yes, you will automatically have things that transpire that you can't control. Therefore, we have to, and I'm just saying this because I've always been somebody that's been a negative thinker. So I had to transform my mind to think more positively and speak positively. So I would say, like I said, yes and no. I hope that makes sense.
It did.
Okay.
What about you, B? What do you think?
I agree. With the yes and the no. My no. I'm gonna start with my no. My no is because it's I don't know. I get the fact. I guess I am starting with the yes. I guess because I know that when we say like, the next, as far as speaking things into existence, like, you know life and death, we all talked heavily about that part. I get that part. um but I don't believe that like, because when you go back to like we were saying about people with trashy mouths, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're our life is terrible because of it. I do feel like it plays a large part in it. um it does. Faith without works is dead. So I get that part. I because I know we don't, although we may say things, that doesn't, we're not necessarily working towards it. So it's kind of like we're moving in two different directions. Our mouths are saying one thing and we're trying to go this way. It's like, oh, I'm never going to make it, but let me try to make it.
Right.
So there's no parallel. So it's just like perpendicular, if that's the word, right? um
Okay, so when you say that, right, because you all made some really, my brain might look differently. And so when I'm hearing you all say that, one person I'm hearing talk about actual language, the other person I'm hearing talk about actual intention. Is that what you mean?
I actually both of those, yes. Like because like our like vocalizing things that we say don't line, like our mouth, our feet don't meet our face sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
basically, right,
Right.
as you would say, Apostle.
Mm-hmm.
So like we say I want to be a millionaire. oh, I'm gonna always be on food stamps. Like,
Right.
or
Uh,
or I want to be a millionaire, but I haven't invested in anything.
mm,
So it's like we're not doing anything to make it happen, and we're
Right.
also not speaking it to
Right.
keep the negative from attaching itself to it. Again, it's almost, I can only use me as an example. I know again with my declaration for the year that what I said I wanted to do, and how I was scared, like physically, literally, in literal sense of scared to say it because I didn't want anything to happen. And then I said it, and then something happened, but I had already spoken negative over it. I had already said that once I said, all hell was going to break loose. I wasn't wrong, but I don't know what would have happened if I would have said, yo, this is my year to do this. And, I'm closing out 2024 with my dinner theater. Because I had already, the negative had proceeded first. So in the literal sense of yes, I trashed my whole life because I did. It's on tape. We got it on camera.
Yeah. Sister B, I feel like a lot of people who lean into the LYFE Forum find themselves like you. Of maybe if I wouldn't have said it, these things wouldn't have happened. I'd like to dig into that for just a moment and say maybe some of us are denying the prophetic authority of our mouths to control how our lives move. Because when you made that statement, it literally gave authority to whatever confusion and stuff was out there. They said, hey, she said it's coming. So the backdrop to that is in 2025, I'm taking control and I will dominate everything that is seeking to dominate me. And if you woohoo, funny. And if you say that, and now they don't know, now hell or conflicts don't know how to deal with it because you've made a declaration over your future. To my part of the question, if I could change the word, I might be able to make sense of it. Instead of saying trashy, I'm gonna say messy. Because when you said that, our worlds are framed, we talked about words being framed by worlds. If I have a messy mouth, because you can have a mouth, let's go. You can have a mouth that has made a mess. That does not make you messy. Messy is a state. It's continual. If I'm messy, it means that multiple people have looked at me in situations and said, he makes messes. And if I can look at myself and know I make messes and continue along in that flow, then yes, I do have a messy life. Why? Because I'm living and existing in a space where not only do I create messes, but I invite other people into my life to either make a mess of their lives or to continually mess up mine. So now we're dealing with an authority complex. Are you consistently and flat out trying to wreck other people's lives? If that's the case, then yes, because everything that comes out your mouth is trying to create a mess in somebody else's. And I would venture to say that if any of us have friends like that, then they're not friends. I think that is an evil mentality for me to want anybody's life as messed up as mine. Or I know somebody who told me one time, I would feel better if I knew that other people were struggling. What? Are you? I'm sorry, I'm yelling. Or have you lost your daggone mind twice? What do you mean I would feel better off if I knew other people are struggling? You're ignorant. Everybody has some sort of challenge that they're dealing with. They just ain't talking to you about it because you messy.
Wow.
So that's the thought process. People know, my brothers and my sisters, ladies, sisters, listen. Everybody knows what not to tell somebody. And if you are the individual that thinks that everybody's life is going okay, it's because it's probably that everybody knows don't tell you their business.
Mm.
And so you have to re-examine yourself. I love that about scriptures. An intelligent man, Paul said, examine yourself. Take inventory, look around you and look at what the heck is going on. Because most of the time we find our joy in finding the problems in other people's lives. And let me just say this, as people who know me in my other realms, they know I have divine intelligence about certain things that are going on in their lives. But let me tell you, that does not exclude me from having to constantly deal with what's going on in my own head, what's going on in my own mind. It's just that the people who are over me or who have authority in my life or influence in my life, they can see, but their wisdom says I'm going to deal with Adam in a private space. So it's not that I don't have any issues. It's that the people who can speak that I give my influence to aren't about to dump me down the toilet like a pizza. And so we have to come to a place where we're using wisdom in who we're sharing with. So yeah, if you have a messy mouth and you're constantly creating messes, then you probably have a messy life, or you're a baby who doesn't know any better. And if that's you, I would challenge you to stop talking quickly. I've heard a statement before that said, "Don't argue with a fool." A person walking by don't know which one's the fool. So let's guard our hearts. Let's guard our hearts. Let's guard our mentality. And I'll just shut up right there. Y'all can tell.
Well, because see, okay, even when you said that, you talked about the talking slowly, guarding our hearts. The heart is different than the tongue, right? The tongue executes the heart. And so that other scripture that we talked about was what? Let me
Well, Apostle, can I dig into that? Can I ask you a question?
Wait, yeah, hold on for a second though.
Okay.
Because that Proverbs 18 and 21 is that death and life, right? Scripture. And then we get that Luke 6 and 45. It says, out of the abundance of the heart.
Right. But that's a difference. There's difference there, because Jesus was saying out of the overflow of the heart. So he's saying the guard here is, if you don't stop it in your heart, it's eventually going to come out your mouth.
But here's my point. Let me put that back to you, because I think, again, the whole premise behind the power of the tongue, relating that to the power behind the tongue, is that there is so much that can be in a person's heart. And in that overflow, catch somebody on the wrong day, they may say some things that they meant because it was in their heart. Right? The tongue is an execution. It only is the ending delivery result of what is going on in that space, how we think, what we feel. And so I get challenged by that, because in the clinical world, we always talk about, and here's a word that some of you may know, Brianna, we have talked about this in a lot of different cases: repression and suppression, right? Which we end up dummying down ourselves because people don't know how to receive us. They say, I talk funny, or I do these things, or I do that. And so when you hear enough of that, which is why that comparisons conversation was interesting, when you hear enough of that, you start to repress your tongue, or
True.
repress your voice. You get to disciplining your tongue, but your heart is bubbling over.
Yes.
So if your tongue is going to reflect the abundance of your heart, after a while, when you strike the right match, the tongue is going to wield the weapon of fire, because now I'm sick of trying to be or say something that appeases other individuals, or I'm angry and that's all that's in my heart is anger, or I'm frustrated and that's all that's in my, and what you hear me saying or how you hear me saying it is because of that frustration that's going on in the heart. Go ahead.
So the when you're driving a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
What essentially, if I can connect these two, what essentially, if the tongue is the steering wheel, and we're talking about the out of the overflow of the heart, or the abundance of the heart, the mouth is speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tend to believe that a heart in control is properly using the steering wheel. I believe that when the tongue begins to speak out of its overflow, if it does not have, oh my God, Shez, you creating a whole problem on here.
No. I'm
And it's a good thing.
No
It's a
problem.
good
Go
thing
ahead.
because it's going to make everybody check how much control they have on their tongue. The moment you've just decided to let somebody have it, is the moment you take your hands off the wheel, and you're going to be like, Jesus, take the wheel. But he's not, because he gave you control over that steering wheel. And if your decision is to drive headlong into a brick wall, you cannot then call on angels after you've taken your hands off the control to help us.
Wow.
We can't do that. One of the things about Genesis chapter 1 that God told us to do is dominate everything around you. Dominate.
But not in you?
Say that again?
But not in you?
No, he never says in you, because the assumption is, because he's in you, you are in control. That's the assumption.
Ooh.
That because he's in you, you are in control. I was just having a conversation. We talk about all things that pertain to life and godliness.
Right.
I learned in my study just recently that I should not constantly think about me battling with sin, because I learned that I am no longer in a battle with sin. I found out that when Jesus died for me, right, y'all, he killed the sin nature. And so everything I do now is by choice. It's either by my choice of my behavior. It might be a cycle that I found myself in because of me growing up, but it's not based on sin unless I'm claiming it. And I found out that many times I keep blaming the devil and blaming hell for things I could have just said, I got control over this.
Wow.
I'm not doing this. So anyway, to answer your question, so when you're driving in the steering wheel, right? And you're driving the steering wheel, and as long as you're not talking, you are working out your soul. You're thinking it through, and you're trying to figure it out. Now, listen, you might go and you might talk to people, and you might get some wisdom on how to deal with that. I understand that, and that's right. This is not a situation that we can broad brush. So if I say this, it doesn't mean that it's that for everything. But so somebody does you wrong, right? And you're trying to figure out in your head if you're going to be a Negro. Not that word, but y'all know what word I'm talking about. And you're working it out in your heart. And as long as you're working it out in your heart, you're good. As long as you're wrestling with it, you're good. But when you decide, I'm not wrestling with this no more, let me just get this off my chest, That is taking the hands off the steering wheel. That is, I am no longer choosing to be responsible for what I'm about to release or unleash on whoever. And so that is when the power behind the tongue comes into motion, if y'all are Bible readers, because your Bible says that the heart is deceitful above all things. Here you go, power behind the tongue, and desperate for wickedness. And if it's desperate for that, it is waiting to allow you to thank you for letting me be myself. It was waiting on a moment where you were going to throw discipline and caution to the wind so it could be and say and do everything that was already in your heart to do. So the marriage between your heart and your tongue means that wherever there is not control, I hear myself. Wherever there is no discipline or control, you are exactly where your heart wants you to be.
Wait, pause there, because that's a really good it was a really good analogy. I think that sometimes when we think about death and life and how we hear that for ourselves, most times we are just attempting to just get our own lives together, right?
Right.
Are we looking at our lives? Or I'm trying to get my own life together. I want my own husband. God, give me a husband. I'm speaking that he gonna be this or this or that. I want my family to be right. I want myself to make more money. I'm in this space where I'm just kind of like, I'm looking for the secret sauce of my tongue being able to produce what I want versus just sometimes what I think. And so that could be problematic, because as long as we stay away from, I think sometimes that scripture is problematic, not for the scripture's sake, but for all of the pieces that come with that leave individuals assuming that if I just say what I want, I will have it.
Yeah, and the
Does
scary
that make
part,
sense? Because Brianna's eyes just went up. Did you hear when I said that, Bri? What did you think?
I thought about, I feel like if you say it enough, you get to a point where it gets done. Like manifestation, right? Because I've had situations, me personally, like in my mind, I've thought it a lot, but nothing ever got done. But when I got to a point of continuously writing this thing down in my prayer journal or continuously saying out loud, I'm tired of one thing and I want to fix this one thing by doing this other thing. After a while, it automatically just started to come to fruition, I guess I can say.
Why so? What's the connecting there?
I don't know.
well, can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question, sis. So do you find it funny or interesting that when it comes to things that we want that are positive, we're willing to consistently speak to that thing in order to get manifestation? But we kind of don't play by but are we playing fairly by the rules because we want to say what we want to say and get good manifestation, but we're not going to stop talking, but we don't want the bad manifestation. So the marriage of it, are you able to consistently speak what you want over your life, right, in the positive space? And then are you able to do you find yourself having that same controlled or disciplined to not speaking the bad things over and over?
Not all the time. I think I just feel like that's like a societal norm that we've grown up with, to just speak so negatively. So it's like just a habit of doing it. So I feel like we just should have better practice in continuously speaking positive. I think that when you just get to a point where you're over so much of the negative happening, but then realizing that you're the person that brought it on yourself because you manifested that on yourself, that you actually put work or have intentions or are extremely intentional with your manifestations and the positive. I hope that answered your question.
I did get that. Can I go back and ask another question? I want to ask Bernice a question. When B, when you were talking about, you kind of spoke these things on yourself. For those of us who have been guilty of it, I know I've been guilty of it. Do you believe? I'm talking directly to you. Do you believe that when you speak, you are training your spirit for a future outcome?
I do, but let me tell you what I've been cursed with.
Don't say that you're not cursed, but go ahead.
Okay. I normally, I'm trying to think of my right words. I have a tendency to say things and have delayed application. So I don't think about it until well after the fact. But I have been consistently challenged with application right after. Like, now how could you have handled that differently? Now why you ain't just remember that? That's why I always say, if I could react to the positive declaration. Hello, sir, I'm talking. If I can use that same energy to speak positivity as I do the negative, my life would be so much better. Because it's like we say, we spoke these things into being, but I never once thought how it would be if I spoke positively. Like, oh my goodness, this my dinner theater 3 months. By then I'm gonna be working on my second show. I'm gonna have a venue. Like, yeah, none of those thoughts came in. It was, Lord, where the people at? Ain't nobody gonna come. Ain't nobody gonna be a part. those thoughts don't come first. It's always the negative ones.
And you're training so I'm bringing it back to you, Coach. I asked her about us when we speak. Do we not is it that we don't recognize that we are literally training our spirit for a future outcome? How do you feel about that? And then how do we consciously keep ourselves to saying they're going to come? They're going, like speaking for Bernicia, they're going to come. Because as soon as I asked the question, she said, I've been cursed. And I stopped her. And then the Lord said, no, right there, Adam, see? It's right there. It's sometimes the people who are powerful with their words, we are the most reckless. Mm-hmm. It's like, and we're like, hey, I am so guilty.
Wait. Slow all of that way down. The people.
That was good.
Not the prophets, not the apostles, not the evangelists, pastors, teachers. People who are the most powerful with their words are the most reckless. Huh?
It's the truth.
Wait, I got to do my producing work. I got to put that somewhere. Yes. So, right. Wait, people with the most power with their words.
Who are the most powerful with their words.
Right. Who are the most powerful people. Wait, who are the most powerful?
Produce, coach, produce.
Reckless. You know why this is so like pow in this moment? Because the proof is always in the pudding, and the people who need to know it never get it. Can I tell you, as long as I've known Bernicia, and it's been, wow, a long time,
20 years. Paris is 20.
everything that she says happens.
Good and bad.
And no, well, listen though, but let's highlight the positive things. Her production and what she does is always spot on, but she never holds that. She holds the negative.
Got it.
Because the same power, but when we are prone as people to have a disposition to expect the negative based off of our framing, we can easily expect that things are not going to work out, versus remembering, oh God, I felt my resume come out of me. It's instead of remembering all of these things that did work, and taking all of that power and putting it towards the next thing I'm getting ready to do.
Wow.
So people don't get it. When I speak that, my husband used to say to me, he says, babe, you get everything you want. And I'm like, and I keep expecting to.
I know that's right.
I keep expecting to, and people don't understand that energy in me. It's not because I don't believe bad things don't happen. They are going to happen. They're supposed to happen. Life is supposed to be life. We have got to get out of that frame because that says, because we're saved, nothing bad is going to happen to us.
Right.
That is the incorrect teaching and the lie that keeps us in this space of spiritual depression, because we never grow up to assume the dominance that the world is calling for. I'm expecting that anytime I say I'm getting ready to launch something, that something is going to be in my way. And it is not the devil, it is just natural obstacle. But when I get that, I already set my shoulders for that. So by the time B is talking about this dinner theater, now she got trapped at the beginning of the year. Ain't God good?
Ain't he good? He's
It's
good.
so good, because she all that month she kept saying, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna
She
say,
really
I'm not gonna
was.
say,
Oh
I'm
my
not
gosh,
gonna
she
say.
would not.
And then it came up out of somebody else's mouth, and then she had to commit. So she wasn't gonna say, she didn't say, it came out of somebody else's mouth. So now she's committed, and now she's running with this thing that's gonna be phenomenal. And what she didn't expect was that there was gonna be a response. But now that there is a response, it grows my faith. And when I get to the end of that, it's gonna be even bigger than what I have seen in its progression. Why? Because it was always supposed to happen.
And the challenge is going to be for those of us who can, Bishop, let us all ride.
Why do you always stop when he arrives?
Because
Why do you always do that?
Because
It's
in the apostolic church, whenever the bishop or the arch or the apostle walked in, they'd be like, sometimes they would stop service mid-song, or as soon as the song stopped, they would honor the fact that their man of God just walked in. So
Yes.
and I am not about to let him forget that Bishop Paulie that's screaming for him.
Grand entrance.
But yeah, he has an entrance. For those of us who find ourselves in spaces where Bernicia is our hero tonight of this play, it would then be key for us, right, to make sure that after the amazing production that God put on through her, right, that she does not go back to the spaces before he made a way.
Okay, pause.
Starts talking back from that space.
Right, pause. Because I want you to be in Bernicia's life next year.
Oh, I will be.
And Bernicia started laughing, because by the time it's time for us to get this next production going, Bernicia, if she don't catch herself, is going to be like, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do this year. That's exactly what she's going to do, right? Unless she catches herself. And then we say, B, the all we've walked through.
Listen. I'm telling you right now, B,
Yeah.
you done met the wrong one. You met the wrong one. I'll check you right on this live. You are not allowed to speak negatively, because you know what hit me is how many lives you're going to change with this dinner theater, how many lives you're going to impact, right? Through all the stuff that you might go through. But the people whose lives you're going to impact, do you know however long you waited to do this is how long, whenever we wait on doing what God has gifted us or graced us to do, like Bishop and his album, right? Like Bishop and his praise and worship album or stuff like that. When you wait on those things or find yourself in delay on those things, for every day you're doing this, for him, it would be robbing people of finding themselves into the presence of God by his voice. For me and the things that God has called me to do, I was hoping, and then I got rebuked by Coach She, like, do it. Who are you waiting on? Why are you waiting? And then I ran into a couple of people who leaned in on something that I was talking about, and they were like, that was exactly where I was. Well, you know what? How many people did I rob of my gift and giving them what God was trying to say because of what I was going through? You know, I had to climb myself out of that pit as that Joseph was in. I had to climb myself out of it. So the power, I think that the power behind the tongue, like once you say it and you start talking, it comes out your mouth, and I believe it stops. It turns around and it looks at you to make sure, is this what you really meant? Because I'm about to do what you said. And if you say it again, that's its permission. Let's go. But I do believe, can let me just be myself for just a moment.
Oh my God.
I believe.
Wasn't you just singing that song? Don't let me be myself.
Thank you for letting me be myself. That's the thing. Listen, I'm trying to tell everybody listening to me, next year, you can have what you say. You can. And for some of you, you will have what you say. Those are two completely different statements.
Yes.
But if you're speaking life over yourself, you know what's going to happen? Everybody around you is going to, everybody who believes in you is going to start copying what you say. They're going to start speaking life too, because we have to remember that positivity, like negativity, is a virus. And it fills you up first, and then it contaminates the people around us. So let's be real clear. Bernicia, next year, other people are going to be impassioned to do dinner theaters too, to do plays and programs too. Bishop, next year, people are going to be inspired.
It's the way he says Bishop.
Gospel
Say it again.
Huh?
Say it again. Bishop.
Bishop. Next year, people are going to be inspired to fulfill and answer their God-given call. And they're going to be inspired to lead other people into God's presence, sing songs, do gospel workshops, bring choirs and praise and worship ensembles together in ridiculous excellence. It's going to happen next year. Next year, Bree, people are going to be so inspired by the differences in how you do your hair and the way you flow and how you are model genius in some posts, and then when you get home, you are just your natural self and you're cool, and like they're going to be like, I want to be like that. Apostle. Next year, people are going after their schoolwork. They're going to excel in what they didn't think they had the time to do because they were watching us.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that we can do is start saying, it ain't gonna go down like that.
Wow.
But I'm gonna say this. next year, I'm going to have.
Yeah.
I told you, man.
Yes.
Next year, I'm going to have what I've been saying.
Mm-hmm.
My life is going to start looking like what I was saying because I found myself guilty. This is what God told me, y'all. God told me, he said, Adam, he said, you can't blame me because you keep on voiding out blank checks.
Oh.
You say, this is what God's going to do in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I write void on it because I start speaking negatively about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to come back and blame God like he did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like his thoughts, whoo, come on, get off me. That his thoughts towards me aren't good.
Yeah.
That would be like our kids looking at us and saying, you don't want me to excel. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? You mean I carried you all this way on eagle's wings? I did all these things for you just to bring you to a point of failure? Let me be like the children of Israel. A statement that they said for frustration that is prophetic to our lives today. They get to the Red Sea, and I'm shutting up. Okay. Mm-hmm. They get to the Red Sea, right? And when they get to the Red Sea, they make a remark to Moses that I bet you Moses never thought about, that they didn't think about in this context. They said, is it because that there were no graves in Egypt that you bring us out here? You know what they were saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it because that there wasn't a space big enough for us to die in, that you bring us out into a space big enough for us to die in? You mean to tell me that because I found a space where I couldn't lose, I found a space where I couldn't die, I found a space where I couldn't find myself back in captivity, that you bring me to another space to die? No, no, no. God brought them in a space. He brings them to the desert because he was tired of them in Egypt. He brings them through the wilderness when he gets tired of them being in certain spaces. So when you find yourself in a new space, it means that God don't want you going back to the old space.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. When I find myself in a new space, I don't want to go back to an old space. You know what, Adam, that just prompted a statement because, and here's the next question. I'm getting ready to do my producing work. Babe, I didn't know I was a producer. I didn't know until today. So, hold on. I failed to, yes, let me do that again. Hold on. Because that thing that you just said was so powerful. Here's the question. Here's the next question, right? Wow. Is speaking alone enough? Okay, so let's do that. And it's still not doing it. Okay.
Once you click it up, I think you have to click on it.
Yeah, I did, but it's not allowing it to happen. And so I'm just going to ask you all the question. Is speaking, do you think, well, first of all, let me table that. Hold on for just a second, because that thing that you just talked about is the reality of when we go back to spaces, right? That we don't go back to former thinking. Why that's so important is I remember being with someone, I was working with someone probably over the last days, and they hit a space, and this is going to be important. I want you all to pay attention to me. They hit a space where they were talking. One of the great things about my training as a therapist is the following: being able to keep track. And because we are in a ADHD type environment in the earth today, where things are happening in 10-second clicks and flips, we've gotten so used to Happy Meal quick bites that we hold on to that we don't pay attention to all of the pieces that take place. Right. So this individual was talking and they were talking about something, and my mind went all the way back. I said, oh my God. They said, what? I said, did you not remember that this is something that you asked for, that you wanted God to do? This is the culmination of it happening right now. And all the while that I'm on this call with this individual, they were trying to figure out what I was talking about, but I remembered for them. And I said to them clearly this: I said, it's one thing to ask for something. It's another thing to expect something, but it's another thing to recognize it when it shows up. And you can be in positions where something will show up and you can't remember when you spoke it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the indictment of the culture of today, because we're missing a lot of the language that we're spewing out, thinking that
Yes.
it's just bouncing, that it's not
Yes.
coming back to return to us, that it's not boomeranging back and it's showing up. That's why we rely, and hear my heart, and I love Prophet Adam because he's a prophet indeed. That's why we love the prophetic, because it is that external witness that we have learned to live in versus living in our internal witness that speaks before the prophet shows up. And more than likely, most times, the prophet comes when we have not heard ourselves. Listen, let me tell you something. If
Yes.
you don't recognize your own self as the prophetic voice, you are the most powerful. That's why when you made the statement that we are the most reckless because we are the most powerful, there are engineering agents on the inside of all of us. The power of who you are is reflective in the damage that you do, good and bad damage.
True. True.
So how much is your damage? And I'll tell you, is if I observe it, I'm looking at you and saying, oh my God, you're a powerful thing. What you mean? My life is a mess. I ain't got no money. Yep. And you're still powerful, because that same energy that allowed that to happen is the
Same
same energy
energy.
that can go back and recreate what you want to see. But you don't see it in concert. So the question is speaking alone enough?
No.
What do you mean speaking alone?
Okay,
No.
so
Oh,
it's the
speaking.
ability,
Okay.
speaking alone. Is it enough to just declare a thing and then you'll see a thing? What y'all think about that?
No.
I don't think it's enough.
So
Like,
what do you
I mean, the Bible says faith without works is dead. So
Yeah.
you can't say, you can't speak positive and do negative, and vice versa. Vice versa. You can't work against what you put out in the atmosphere. Like if you say, like I said it earlier, if I said
mm-hmm,
I want to be a millionaire and I ain't paying my tithes,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
how I'm going to be a millionaire? I didn't do the first principle first.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or if I say that I wanna go to college. I want a degree. I want to get my degree. But I've never even enrolled in school. like what
Wow.
you think the degree is just gonna drop out the sky for you? You
Mm-mm.
gotta your feet gotta meet your faith. Come on, Apostle, these your words.
Listen, yep, I live by
Gotta be
those.
realistic.
Absolutely. When you're this is an amplifier, keyboard amp, y'all. And it looks great, you know.
Mm-hmm,
It looks great. It got all the knobs on it that you need once it's turned on. Here goes the power cord. And until I plug this in twice, I almost gave y'all the finger. Until I plug this in twice. Number one, I gotta plug the power, into the box.
mm-hmm,
Then I gotta plug the power on the other end into a power into a power source. Until I do these two works,
mm-hmm.
Mm,
this thing is dead.
mm.
And many times when I was growing up, I loved this song
How?
till I found out they lied to me, and I wanted my mom to get her money back for her album from the Clark sisters that said,
Yeah.
"Name it, claim it, it's
It's
yours, like it's yours just for the asking." Not just for the asking, because there's a whole bunch of things I've asked for that didn't come to pass. And it
Yes.
don't mean that God's a liar. Everything that if you check Genesis 1, he says something and then he does something.
Mm-hmm,
Does something and then he does something. If you look at the Bible says that the wicked are smarter or more intelligent than the children of light. And so you'll see that people who have all this stuff, they did something for it. Now they may have lied, cheated, stealed, connived, manipulated, you name it.
mm-hmm.
But they did something. And I think
Wow.
that all God is trying to do is to get us to notice two things. Number one, that the beginning act of walking involves falling. It
Wow.
means that failure is a part of your success.
Mhm.
It's an understanding that God didn't create Eden without putting a snake in it.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's because the snake was the only test for Adam and Eve. Are y'all gonna
Mhm.
abide by what I said? And
Mhm.
watch this. Are you gonna enforce your dominance on
Mhm.
this snake? So so that's the first part. The second part is how well do you know God's voice apart from your own? And does it matter to you whether he's happy with us or not?
Mhm.
For a long time, y'all, it didn't matter to me. I was living my good old life. And I'm sorry, sin was fun.
Mhm.
Trying to tell y'all. It blessed me so many times in my life until I had to come and pay back
Mhm.
the wages. Until I had to pay back the wages, I realized I don't want to have the hit just came up, producer.
Mhm. Yes.
I didn't want to be guilty
Uh-huh.
of the wages for the works that I was doing.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so when you're talking about like faith without the works is dead, what is faith? It
Mhm.
is doing and moving in right now
Mhm.
with the thing that you are hoping for in mind. So when you start school, that's an act of your faith.
Mhm.
You're moving right now in the thing that you're hoping for.
Mhm.
That is what faith is. And watch this. The Bible says, and without that, without moving in right now, what you're hoping for, you can't even please him.
Let me tell you why that's so significant, right? Because I'll use me as an example real quick. And a lot of people don't have an expectation that I probably either get tired. I think people know that I get sleepy, but they probably don't think I get tired because I do a lot of boss up stuff, right? 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in this front, and I was sitting in this front with my husband, and I looked up at him. I was tired of school. I was. I was like, oh my God. And so I looked up at Brian and I said, do you think I'm doing the right thing? And I just looked up and he was like, what? I said, do you think that that I'm doing the right thing, that I still need to continue at this? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, tell me why. And I was listening for what he may not have known in the moment was that I needed somebody to help feed me because I was getting tired. I think people expect that when you have something and that you're going with it, that you won't have moments where you are tired, that you get weak or weary in it. There is nothing wrong with that. That does not mean that you don't believe God. It just means that you are tired.
Tired.
Right.
Right.
And so he's looking at me. He's like, babe, you got this. I mean, and I said, and I looked back at him, I said, I think you always think that I got it. And I think that it's weird for him to hear me say that I'm tired. The next week, my dissertation topic got approved. That thing, right in that moment, in that week before, I was tired. I was tired of writing. I was tired of thinking. I was tired of pulling it all together. The next week, that thing got approved. It jumped up in my spirit. It gave me some energy. And that's the point of the process, which is why I want us to be realistic about what happens, is speaking alone enough? It's the first step in the process, or rather the first step is the conceiving. If I imagine it, then the potential for me to do it is there. That's number one. If you're listening to me and you're on any chat, type it. Number one, if you can conceive it, the potential of you doing it is there. Once you get it from conception up here, thinking about it, oh my gosh, I need to do this. I need to do this. right? And then you start to speak it. Now it gains traction. People start to surround that, or even you yourself, your resources start to surround the idea of, oh, okay, I'm getting ready to do this. And then I put my hands to work and say, okay, now I'm going to apply for this.
Mm-hmm.
I start to apply the process. The process is working itself out. So the name it and then claim it has so much in between that I don't think people talk about. And because they don't talk about, when people are hit with the work of it, they are discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people, we need to really consider as it relates to life and death is in the power of the tongue, and he who lives by it will eat the benefits of it. Well, that's the truth, right? In this way, you live by, and that's both negative and positive. Let me help, because God was never afraid of darkness. I don't know how we got afraid of the dark.
That's good.
He was never afraid of darkness. He let darkness hover until he was ready to say, let there be light. And the light was in the darkness the entire time. He just separated light from darkness. He did not get rid of darkness. So darkness is supposed to exist. We have gotten so afraid of dark world, spirit world, demonic world, and we can call it what we like. Darkness is in existence because we are also called to understand it, reverence, and even have dominion in it. We're not supposed to be afraid of it. It's that also holds true for the processes of life. You want a house? I'm gonna claim this house. I'm gonna lay my hands on this house. But you're not going to get that house until you find out where your credit stands. You're not going to get that house until you walk the process of signing some papers and knowing that you need 15 grand in 30 days, and 15 grand shows up because you start pulling those resources. You're not going to get that house until you get to the point where you walk the entire process out, pull up the truck, and start moving in the pieces to the house. There are pieces in this space that requires our activity, and we get sleepy when it's working time.
Yeah.
And we don't see the manifestation that we have spoken out of our mouth because we get sleepy when it's working time. But I'm going to encourage you to wake up, because if you said it, you got to know the power of all of the work that comes with it. And then also understand that you can do it because you have to. You got to perform this dinner theater because you have to. You got to keep writing and adjusting and waiting for people to show up and having people have emergencies at the last minute. Why? Because on the 31st, they're going to show up in performance mode and they're going to do it.
They're going to do it.
They're going to do it because they have to. We always do. And then we get the manifestation of that.
Yeah.
Say it again.
We perform well.
Why is that?
Because if you take an orange, it's beautiful when you peel it. If you read that it looks beautiful, but what you want is on the inside. So you have to squeeze it. You have to apply pressure. And God gave me this word some time ago. I love the way he talks. So when you put pressure on it, you are now pressing into what it is. It's designed, but you got to press it. So pressure, 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 Pressure. Every time you deal with pressure, it's pressing into who you are. Everything. And so sometimes we don't want pressure because God presses me. Yes. If God presses me into who I am in public, when they see it, I can never go back to being impressed. I can never go back to the way they saw me before. If you see somebody and they're always calm and they're always patient, and then you see them in a fight for their life, of survival, you'll never allow them to be simple and easily used again, because now you've observed them fighting and being tenacious for their life. And I believe that's what God keeps on trying to do. God keeps on trying to get us in a space where we're vulnerable, where he can pull the curtains, open the curtains, so everybody can see you and be like, I knew that was there. I knew that was in them. And when they do that, though you might feel like embarrassed because you waited so long, God has finally received his glory.
Yeah, Adam was going out a little bit on us, and I think we lost him. Listen, I want to take a moment to just even give our man of God, I think he's getting out the car now, bless his heart, right? Coming from rehearsal. Want to give him some spaces where he talks about some of these pieces, because there's so much that comes from the idea of just really considering all that we have in our arsenal space to really consider the pieces of watching our mouth. Also remembering that we are framed a certain way to think a certain way. We were groomed in certain families, and we come up with certain ideas and principles and backdrops. When you've come up in a family that may have been derogatory, then if that's your belief about yourself, that's going to manifest through your tongue. It's going to manifest out of your mouth. And there's no if, ands, or buts about it. The changes happen when we get to a space of acknowledging that I've had this existence. This is a part of my framework, but I've got to do some work to change what comes out of my mouth, which means I've got to deal with my heart and then consider how I want to now direct my life. Jacque said this. It was really important when she said, no, it's not enough to just speak a thing. You have to put movement towards what you're speaking to. And this statement was so powerful. Words help to create the direction, and action helps to bring it to life. And so that's a process. Words help to create the direction. I want to buy a home, and I want to live in Homestead. It created the direction. And Brianna's like, child, please, Homestead is too far. That's okay. There was a day, right? So the words created the direction. And then so now when we determine that, then it's like, okay, now what do we need to do with that? The action helps bring it all the way to life. We could have been speaking, I want to live in Homestead. I want to live in Homestead. And that would have never come to life except we started to look for what land in that space we wanted to actually be in, and then what it took to purchase a home in that space. So that power of life, death, and life, power of the tongue, it lives in that space, but then there's got to be more things that come with that activity. Say something to that.
Got lined up.
Yeah.
It just all got to line up. And again, I don't know.
What you
like
mean?
it's I think I can plan. It's just for me, it's just constant work. And I think I need to when I say work, meaning like I need to put it into practice more in my life before I start to work on things, because like it always starts with me. Like how I approach my projects is how I approach my things in my personal life. So a lot of times I don't always see like I see the patterns. Like I say, okay, well it's been this way for the last 42 years. So like it's hard to see differently when this is the norm. So with that, when you try to say, oh no, speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. It feels foreign when you get into those spaces. So, but that's why you have to do it more to put it into practice, because it's going to always be foreign because you're not doing it. Have to do it until it becomes comfortable. I wish I was where you were. Like,
you know what, B, that is such a powerful statement though, because when I don't think that people we always value, and that's why I like the work of therapy, because and I like it more than preaching. I do both well, but I just like the work of therapy. And the reason why I like the work of therapy is because we don't know people's story and we don't know how to value it. So we think that what is easy for one person should be generally applied to everyone, which is, this is my child, which is why the general message of a thing can be very inspirational, but it is the working in those intimate places that does the turning. Which is why I love the work of therapy. I love the work of how we're growing in the Evolution Church, because it is those and people can make the distinctions. I can go to a large facility, and there's nothing wrong with a large facility or a large church where there's a lot of inspiration that is taking place, but that Monday through Saturday, there's got to be internal working of reconditioning of the soul that says, I've got to practice more. I've got to practice more. And the therapeutic environment, that space, massages the soul. It helps heal it so that it can start to incorporate the practice, the new practice, because people feel like they are, well, why can this individual have it and not me? Because they require different working in their soul in order to be able to speak a thing. And that's different than your experience. And I think that sometimes people don't get that piece. But when you just said it, I say, yeah, that's right. Environment, backdrops. Another individual this week was talking about, purchasing a house and all of that. And I asked them, I said, did you want to buy a house? She said, and the person just clearly said, yeah, but I've never had it modeled in front of me. Never had it modeled. And we don't value the experiences of other individuals, because sometimes when it's not seen, they can't see it. So I can be hoping for you all day. That's why we love prophesying in other people's lives, right? Oh, I can speak it over your life, but I can't see it in mine. Does anybody feel like that? Sometimes you're like, yeah, I could so see you having that, but I can't see it for me.
That's just like being able to give everybody advice but can't follow your own. Or being that hairdresser that can do everybody's hair but not your own.
It's a real thing. That spot, that's such a heavy thing. And I think one of the questions that I was going to pose, and I'm going to put it up in this thing, I'm going to try it again, right? So last question just for tonight, and you all speak to that. I think a lot of times we like that whole, let me give you advice space. Let me speak a word into your life space. Let me encourage you with this space. And there's nothing wrong with it. But here's the question. Do we feel like we have more authority in somebody else's life versus our own?
It's not supposed to be that way. It's not. One of the most important things I found as a prophet, the Lord told me straight out. He said, Adam, he said, you're not really supposed to have a job. You're not really supposed to have a job.
Elaborate on that.
Your job, the very first prophet in the Bible, according to the word of God, was Seth, and then it was Abram, and then it was Moses. And Moses was supposed to be speaking for God. And that was good while they were in Egypt. While they were bound, that was great. But when they get across the Red Sea and now they're free, and they come up to the mountain where Moses is supposed to introduce the children of Israel to their God, they got so freaked out that they told Moses, we'll listen to you. We don't want to talk to him. We don't want to deal with God. We'll listen to you. And that's where the prophet gets their career of of speaking on behalf of God. But that was never supposed to be the case. Everybody was supposed to have their own individual personal relationship with Jesus. And so now, as a prophet, I can tell you honestly, I am personally offended when somebody comes to me and they say, "What is God saying?" I look right back at him. What is he saying? Because God is supposed to be talking to you. But if I'm going by the history of my spiritual line or lineage, I can find plenty of chapters that said in the 3rd month on the 5th day, and then the very next chapter in the 9th month on the 17th day. So words that are coming from prophets for the nation or for certain things, they are not happening. They are not supposed to be happening every day. And I believe that it is the grace of God that allows so many prophets to keep acting like he talks to them every day. That's just my personal thing. But let me say this. I personally believe that it is offensive to God when we decry or denounce our own stories or history with him. There are certain people I can never reach because I don't have y'all's story. But because of that, listen, I'm a prophet. Sure enough, right? But the prophet cannot hit as hard as somebody saying, "I really understand where you are."
It's true.
There is the testimony is always stronger than the prophecy. Let me hear me.
That's
when
good.
you talk to somebody, you can give them all the words of the Lord. But if they were homeless and you say, "I was homeless too," it means that y'all got similar landmarks that y'all can agree upon. And there is nothing powerful than the power of agreement.
And that's why we say, right, that everybody has their own audience.
Yes.
Everybody will. You don't think about it. If you're paying attention to somebody else's audience, you will miss your own, because it's the one reason why Jesus went to his own. They didn't receive him, but he went because he shared the same lineage testimony. I'm a Jew. I came out of this camp. Listen. And so we get twisted when our own people don't receive us, but there are other people with similar experiences. Sometimes we have a hard time, Adam, getting back to people that have similar experiences than us, because we haven't processed it and we still don't like it in us.
Okay.
So we run away from that. You talk about individuals going back to the corner. Well, I'm not going back to the corner. I've been free from the corner.
Right.
But you understand the corner. Why would you not go back to the corner? Right? Because we haven't fully processed that in us. And so sometimes we cannot speak back, or we can't encourage back in the spaces that we have been in, because we're still healing from it ourselves. That could be somebody's space testimony. Babe, you haven't said a word. Come on in here. So
welcome, Bishop.
Words.
Dang, I had a lot to say. Terrible. I think to your point, Adam, as far as the testimony versus a prophecy, I definitely could understand that, because it feels like I think sometimes with the testimony, if you have somebody you had somebody who's walked the steps, so you almost kind of see a living template in front of you that you're able to look at and say, okay, they've been where I am, and they are on the other side of that. There's something that I can actively and physically be able to take from them, or they can share with me in order for me to be able to get through or get out of what I'm experiencing. Can I go back to because I had a whole bunch to say about that. Do we feel like not that the other one? I'm sorry, because I'm like that terrible. I was like, I want to talk about that. The last one before that, because I never feel like you should have more authority over somebody else's life than your own. But do we feel?
We can't hear you, Apostle.
So is this the question that you want?
No, it was the one before when you said when you talked about as far as is it just enough for us to speak rather than to or whatever.
Faith
And
and
I
work.
think and I think for me with that, I'm gonna be short. For that, I do believe that it requires more for you just to speak. I actually believe it's more 3-tier than anything. I think there's faith, then there's words of faith, then there's walks of faith. That's necessary. And but the problem is I think that people and through my experience, from my own personal experience, I've had the words of faith. I've had words that appear to be faith-based. And then I've done works, but the problem is that my attractor core, which is my eternal witness about what about what I feel like that the Lord said to me, isn't in place. It's unbalanced. And everything everything that's going to come to me has got is attracted to the attractor core that is the internal witness of what I choose to believe. And that's where for me vibration and frequency comes in, because what you said the last time, Adam, about as far as talking about how last week when you talked about how the scripture says the worlds were framed by his word. But but in the beginning stages, there was no English to say, so there was no word, but there was frequency and vibration. The Lord was the Lord was able to create the worlds, so frame the worlds through frequency and vibration, and the language that we need to have is a proper and effective frequency and vibration that brings those things into into our space. So the problem is we can't fix what anybody says about themselves. We need to fix how that person feels about themselves from an internal witness. Because I know for myself, my internal witness, God was able to do it because of the fact that he had an internal witness in and of himself that was able to speak those things into existence. That's why even now, he says that I honor my word over my name, because of the fact that that when he speaks creatively, he can't speak creatively. He can't speak. He has to be careful about what comes out of his mouth, because what he speaks, it comes to pass already. And the problem and the problem is that our internal witness is not matching what our words are saying. And it's not, and it doesn't drive. When you pulled up that amp, that was so funny, because when the words frequency and vibrations came to me, and as church people, sometimes we get afraid of those words because we feel like we're going into new age stuff. But frequency and vibration is ancient. It's ancient technology, like Apostle Daniels would say. But when you picked it up, it made me think of the bass and the treble.
Yes, sir.
Turning up the bass, turning up the treble. Now, if you don't have now the thing is, it's not about you making a sound move. And if there's no, and if you don't have enough bass,
Wait. What the? Wait.
He said
It's not about making a sound versus it's about making something move.
yes.
Wait, okay, elaborate. Bishop, you got the floor. You got the
Floor,
you got
sir.
the mic. Elaborate on that piece right there. Yes, sir.
Because the intention is to make vibration and frequency makes things. If you hit a certain hertz or a certain frequency, it makes something move. A singer can sing if a singer could sing at a certain pitch, and people think that it's got to be extremely high, or but there's sounds and there's frequencies that a singer can hit that might not be high, but it's just the right frequency that shatters a glass. You know, so our purpose is because we say a lot of things out of our mouth, And I think that's where because I used to say all the time that naming and claiming, that was a lie. But the problem is, I don't think that people wrote those songs with the intention of us not having faith to back it up.
Mm.
Like, it was like faith was a no brainer for them. Like, okay, what you thought you was gonna name it and claim it without faith? Like, that's a problem. That's your problem. But all of those that told us that we can speak those things into existence and speak those words were almost like mature meat songs that they were meat songs that pretty much just thought that that faith and the internal witness was already something that you already had on the inside of you. So I believe that it's important for us to know that, you can't, that all these words that we speak, if your internal witness is not necessarily fully established in yourself, and you don't know who you are in God, not knowing, and I talked about this yesterday on Sunday. So it's not about you not knowing who God is, because we know who God is, but the problem is you don't know who you are in God, and that's where the imbalance is. Because you've got to fully know and fully understand who you are in the length and breadth of who God made you to be. Fully. And when that internal witness of you knowing who you are is fully shapen and fully formed, it gives you opportunity to now speak in a way where there is vibration and frequency that happens that doesn't create a sound, but it makes things move. It makes things move on your behalf. It brings things to you. It gathers people to you in order to accomplish the task that it was made to do. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no fear there. That doesn't mean that there's no fear there. It doesn't mean that you don't have any fear or concern about the things that you can't see, but you know that God said to do this. And when you know and you have that witness on the inside of you, and then you start to speak, and then with your words, you start to add some footing to it and start having those faith works done, all of a sudden you see doors open for you that you didn't realize. You start to see people say, "Hey, I'm seeing what you're doing. How can I help you?" Because at that point, with every step, God opens another door. So that's what I'm thinking about. Like, I'm sorry, that's what I was thinking about the entire time that y'all was talking about that. I know we somewhere else, but that's what I was thinking.
Nah, I was watching Shazetta, looking at you, smiling, and she left the ministry space and was watching you from as a wife. And so let me ask a question, because you stepped into Revelation, and when you stepped into Revelation, we went like this. Because when you stepped into Revelation, you went into calculus. So let me bring you back down to elementary so we can get this one part, okay? Okay. So if you're in Pennsylvania and you wanted to listen to smooth jazz, you got a certain 106.1, right?
106.1.
Yeah, you need to tune into it. You don't need much of an education to turn the knob. Mm-hmm. Just turn the knob long enough to get to 106.1, and everybody can get that frequency, right? Yeah. Here's my question. Tell those of us who were still in the room when you went to the calculus thing. Tell those of us, how do we lean in to 106.1? How do we get that frequency? We're coming on here for the first time and finding out we've been out of tune all this time. And now you wouldn't tell us anything, Bishop, if we couldn't attain it. So if we can attain it, then how do we find that frequency where, another phrase, I wish I had my own thing with you, because I would so certainly ask you, we got to talk about this attractor core. And the things that you attract to yourself. Like, we don't think about it. A woman goes out dressed out fine and then she gets mad because she's getting catcalled. Nah, A man saw what he saw and he responded to it. The tractor cord. At least that's the way I understood it. So please take a moment out and make sure I didn't miss that. But how do we tune in to 106.1? Because I believe if I can tune in to that frequency that you're talking about, I think that I would enter a space of rest for my soul instead of feeling like everybody's getting it except for me.
Right. Yeah. Listen. I'm talking about things that I am walking the experience out. So it's like I'm not even somebody who is successfully made it through. It's just something that I'm walking through, that I'm realizing. I but when it comes to now going back to the testimony versus prophecy, the testimony of people like my wife and people like Dr. Rick, and watching how they work, it makes me realize that it's. I've watched Dr. Rick, and my wife will laugh at this because she remembers these days, because she used to be his personal assistant, where Apostle Daniels was supposed to be somewhere, and he was supposed to get a ticket. He was supposed to fly somewhere, and he would say, and I've watched him do it. Tell her, wait, don't get the ticket yet. And it's getting closer and closer to the date, And he said, wait a minute. My wife said, a steward, she's an administrator. She's like, why are you waiting this long? Because these ticket
prices
are getting higher. Like, why are we doing this? He's like, hold on, wait a minute. He would say, I don't feel a release yet. So I'm watching him do it, and then all of a sudden he'll say, now get the ticket. And she'll look on there, and the ticket prices are low as jacks. Low as jacks. And I'll be like, oh, like I don't, because and I had to realize when it came to somebody like him, is that he's so in tune with God, and the way that in the language and the verbiage that God speaks with him. Like, he's so intimate with that space, with the God of Rick Daniels, that he's able to fully walk in a level of faith that even industry things start to align with what he needs to do and what he desires to have. So I think from the concept of like an elementary thing, let me tell you where I started. Okay, thank you, Lord. Where I started looking in the mirror and saying, Brian, you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made. And I want you to believe it today.
Personal affirmation. Wow.
The things that the church sometimes tell us is too much, because you're so focused on yourself. You need to focus on God. But we've lacked honor in ourselves. And because we lack honor in ourselves, the mutuality that comes with of the honor of God and honor of self cannot be disconnected. You can't honor God without honoring yourself. You can't honor yourself without honoring God. So for you to be fully connected and in tune, the first thing that I would tell somebody that's starting at the base is to start to do affirmations and believe them. You got to believe them. It's like it can't be something that you just talk, because but you got to keep talking it. You got to keep rehearsing it until it becomes a witness for you internally.
Okay.
So another thing is that I would say you need to rid yourself of everything, every place, and every person that tries to draw you back to a past space of the person that you were that wasn't getting these results. And I think the problem is that a lot of people, they discount themselves there because they don't realize the amount of grief that it takes
True.
in order for you to be able to say goodbye to people, places, and things that mean you no good in the dimension that God wants to have you in at the moment. It's
Yes, sir.
it's important for you to it's important for you to dig into yourself and know who you are, but it's also but you also have to do the work of start to now exiting some doors.
Stop, because that's a space I want us to hit next week. There were two concepts that you had.
I got notes.
Yeah, the two concepts that you had that leads us in continuation to the power of life and death being in our tongue is the whole Genesis experience out of Genesis 12. He says to Abram, get thee out of so that I can show you.
Yes.
The ideology around that, guys, is that you won't be able to receive a word like a promise concerning Isaac in a former space. So when you talk about needing to move away from people, places, and things, it's not about the disconnection of physical people. It's about disconnecting from the mentalities and mindsets that keep you believing in a former version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What you just tapped into is our ability to be authentically us. As soon as you said the God of Rick Daniels, that is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, who was the same God manifesting himself to each and every one of them differently.
Yeah.
There is a God of Brianna. There is a God of Bernicia. There is a God of Adam. There's a God of Brian. There's a God of Shazetta, who is the same universal God, but he flows to us differently according to our measure and our need.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why that's important, and we'll stop here, is because we are coming into a space that I think people are talking about it more so now. When we do not appreciate diversity, we don't appreciate all of the facets of God.
Yeah.
Oh, I talked about
You
that.
were never supposed to be like me,
Yes.
and I was never supposed to be like you.
Period.
So I've got to appreciate your difference. You get to appreciate my difference. And in the same room, we get to be different and yet together.
Amen.
We're going to hit that space next week.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That was
That's
so good right there. Bishop, you got to come in at the end all the time. Yes. I hope you all who are watching us in different places are enjoying this conversation, because a lot of you all, I don't know what we did differently tonight, but a lot of y'all jumped on this conversation. It's really good. Thank you all for listening. Even if you didn't decide to chat in, we are grateful that you are still watching and hanging there with us. YouTube, you are proving to be a powerful force over there, because the numbers keep growing and growing and growing, and we're grateful for that. If you desire to sow a seed, please do so. All of the information is at the bottom ticker. We are trying to get better at this production. We're going to do something different next week. I think Safari causes us a lot of problems with Restream. We're going to go Google style next week and see if we can get the difference. Listen, we're leaving, but we are going to run over to Mindset Go, which is hitting the platform, I think, at 8 p.m. Central.
We're going to go at 8:30
Okay.
to give everybody a chance to get something to eat and reset. Tonight we're going to talk about your friends are watching to see what God does for you, and we're coming from a different spot tonight, from the book of Daniel, and what happens when your friend puts you in a dangerous place.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
So lean in with us. Me and my wife will be on at 8:30. I'm super excited.
8:30 Central.
Central Standard Time. So that'll be 9:30 Eastern, and it'll be 6:30 Pacific. So Just hit
Yeah. Listen, y'all run over there because the man of God just hollers for the whole hour and a half.
The whole hour. I witnessed
just-
it. I witnessed it. I said, Adam can't wait to get out of here so he can start yelling.
No,
Yeah.
not true. I love it over here because it amps. Number one, it amps me. Something that somebody says will plug me in and really settle me into the evening. So when I come live, I don't have to work myself into anything. I am literally there. Like here, I'm coming from everything I'm coming from or whatever. I got like 5 or 10 minutes to amp myself up on notes that we've been given or a heads up on how we're going to talk. And so I'm almost there by the time we go live. But by the time she's done talking and she introduces everybody, let's go!
That's exactly what he does.
That
like just holla nation. Y'all join him over. Listen, y'all join him over there so that he can holla at y'all. It be a scream, but the principles are so powerful. And I like the fact that we get to leverage from the Evolution Church life to the prophetic evolution. And so it's a nice connection. Listen, before we go, we're going to put up this slide regarding this thing that is coming up for Dinner Theater.
Before you do that, can I ask a question? Oh,
yes, go back. I'm going back to you.
Okay, just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
If people want to sow a seed into LYFE Forum, how would they do that?
Okay, so it's in the bottom ticker. We have Zelle through Evolution. I'm gonna post it up somewhere so that it'll stay. And then we've got Cash App, which is there as well. So
Awesome.
Let me update that. Cash App at Evolution Self-Flow. That's probably the easiest way. We can do that there. Join us because we want to give details regarding this particular event that is coming up. Hang out with us for a few minutes. 2 more announcements, then we're heading off. Y'all see this announcement? Bernicia Jackson is going to give us the spill and the tea regarding what is going to be taking place in Delaware. Come on, share it with us.
Okay, so what to do when you don't know what to do is a collection of situations that life challenges us with forgiveness and living through it and praying and letting go and letting God. It's just it's going to show you the human response to some of life's greatest challenges, and then the other side is what we do when we allow God, when the activation of God in our lives like truly happens. Like, so you're going to be able to see the human response as well as the how the word says that we should respond, how the word says we should respond, and the outcomes that we should receive when we are walking in that true activation of application of the word that we receive on a day-to-day basis. There's going to be some singing, some great singing. There's going to be some dancing, and there's going to be some great food. So if you are not doing anything on New Year's Eve, join us 6:30 p.m. on December 31st, 3501 Philadelphia Pike in Claymont, Delaware, where the great overseer Barbara Hobbs is the pastor. Come out and support. It is free. So we just need you to sow a seed. You can't go see a play and eat dinner for $5. Come on. So let your seed be intentional, because you're going to leave full. You're going to receive a word, and your bellies are going to be full as well. So join us. You won't be disappointed.
We love it. Thank you, Bernicia Jackson. Listen, if you are interested and you're in that area, please go. She is the writer and the director of this amazing experience. What to do when you don't know what to do. We get to push through. We get to let go and let God. We get to pray. We get to live. That's the piece that I love the best. So if you got questions about this particular incident, we're leaving the flyer up so that you can see it. Go seek out Bernicia Jackson. She is on all social media platforms under Bernicia Jackson, and she will be more than happy to assist you with additional information. Listen, thank you for joining us tonight. Last couple of announcements, and then you are dismissed and free to go.
From the South Miami-Dade area and looking for a quality music group to join? Take a look at this.